Okay, welcome everybody to today's webinar. My name is Rhys Lewis, and today we have the pleasure of Jimmy Fahy joining us from BAM. So, yep, I'd like to thank you all for joining, and the webinar title today is BIM Coordination. So thank you very much for attending the session. We really hope you find it useful. Today's session will be recorded and available upon request after the session, so we'll send you details of all of that shortly. So just to make sure that you can hear me okay and the audio is working, there should be a question section in the Zoom meeting, so perhaps we can start the session with you just typing in where you're dialing in from, whether that's down under in Australia, up in the US, or in the UK, wherever you're. Maybe just type in the name of the city that you're dialing in from, and that gives me an indication that you can hear me, hopefully loud and clearly. Perfect. I can see those questions coming through now, and a real mixture. Perfect. Okay, so what we have today is a real-life interpretation and explanation of how Revizto is adding value on a real project, and I've got the pleasure of introducing and welcoming Jimmy Fahy from BAM. So you can read the agenda there, but Jimmy, perhaps you want to just introduce yourself, where you fit in within the business, and maybe a little bit about BAM themselves, if for those who aren't aware of the company. And I'll pull up the slides that you shared as well, so you can run through those.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, loud and clear, Jimmy.
Great. All right, thanks very much, Rhys, for that introduction. For those that are on the call there, Jimmy Fahy is my name. I'm the BIM coordinator and design coordinator here for, and the BIM manager for BAM in Ireland. So the BAM group is I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but they're a global BAM group construction. You can see our turnover there is about 7 billion. We're based all around the world, but what we're looking at today is BAM Ireland, and in particular the project we're looking at is part of the National Children's Hospital in Ireland, which is a project to the value of €1 billion. So there are different offices around Ireland. So there is, if anyone's familiar with Ireland, we've got Cork, Galway, Waterford. Kill is our main office. We have an office in Dublin and in Belfast also. So that is a brief overview on the company itself. So I'm based in the west of Ireland here in the Galway office.
So, thanks, Jimmy. I think it's always useful for those that may not have come across BAM before. I'm sure they have, yeah. But it's always good to do that. So, and I'll return the flavor. It's lunchtime, isn't it? So I'm not eating my sandwich at lunchtime today, so you can hear what I'm trying to articulate. So for those of you who aren't aware of Revizto, maybe you are, and I'll ask a couple of questions in a second or so. Revizto does a number of different things, but our core focus is around project coordination and team collaboration. We have a really, really powerful issue tracking system that's used by various organizations to manage, track, and report on project-based issues. So it's very simple and easy to understand, and more importantly use, which is why we're having success in organizations like BAM and lots of other organizations you can see on the screen. So it's an interesting mix. We have clients that are architects, engineers, contractors, owners, operators, a real mixture. So that's just a snapshot of some of the 100,000 plus global unique users that we have right across the world. So let's talk a little bit around the issue that we're trying to solve as an organization, and Jimmy will talk about this more in a second. But if you just think about how you currently coordinate based on your organization's role on a project, are you using tools like Solibri or Navisworks to do clash detection? If you are, then how are you communicating those clash reports with your project team? But more importantly, how are you tracking things are actually getting done in a timely and efficient manner? And when we talk about issue tracking here at Revizto, we've sort of got a holistic approach. So aside from all of that, there's also a lot of other issues that get communicated across the project. So how are you communicating issues that aren't sort of clash related? Are you doing any of these things, which may be marking up drawings or 3D views and sending emails, as screenshots or PDFs. And again, how are you tracking all of that? So there's lots of information that's flying around the project, which can be difficult and manage to track to understand exactly what's going on and gain control. So what we're trying to do is develop this concept of a single source of truth, so that everybody's informed all of the time if they have the right permissions, obviously. But we're talking constantly about being digital, and I think that's what we can help you be better at. So you have information potentially in lots of different formats, managed by different people. What Revizto is allowing you to do is put your finger on the pulse and connect those dots, if you like. So information is knowledge, but only when it's connected in a format that we can all digest, understand, and more importantly, use. So I've got a couple of questions. Let's see if this works then. So I'm going to, hopefully on your screen, and I'll allow you to vote in a second, Jimmy. So there should be a couple of questions on the screen. So first of all, be great to understand what our audience does and where you fit in within the construction space. So I've asked, what is it you do? Are you an architect, an engineer, multidisciplinary firm? So if you could take a look at the poll there and just select one of those. And there are some other questions as well based on the two slides that I've just brought up. So how are you currently communicating issues on your project? So we talked about emails, marking up drawings, PDFs, Skype, phone calls. Are you tracking that using Excel? And then the second element was clash reporting. So if you are running a clash report in Navisworks, how are you sharing that report out with the project team? Is it a PDF report? Is it an NWF, NWD, a HTML file, or a BCF from Celebri? So if you could just review those and answer. Almost everybody's answered, so we'll give it another couple of seconds, and then we'll share the results. So it's always interesting to understand who you are, what you do, and how it is you're working. And we can discuss some of those topics as we go through this presentation today. Almost another 5 seconds, and we'll end that. So interesting mix here today, great. And yeah, I think rather than sharing the results, it's pretty clear that there's a mixture of ways that people are doing that, and perhaps that's maybe how we can start your discussion, Jimmy. How you were, where you fit and how you did some of that before you started looking at Revizto. And I'm
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So let's stop sharing my screen.
So I suppose up until now, I suppose how we have managed the issues on site and in the model basically is, like all of you have suggested there, it's a mixture of emails, it's PDFs, it's HTML files, it's Excel, it's a phone call, and it's a shout across the table as well. So it's all of the above, and depending on the job, it varies. Some jobs shout and work, some jobs it's an Excel or it's a viewpoints, depending on the company. So that is quite consuming, I suppose, and trying to track all this information and see who's closing out what and where are the weak links within the supply chain. So this is an example here of our dashboard for the satellite hospitals. So these hospitals are small enough hospitals, but because they're hospitals, they're very very intense from an M&E point of view. So you can see from the dashboard here, this is all live information that we're looking at here. We can see exactly how many issues have been closed by particular people. So you can see some people are very good at closing out issues. You can see more that are, working through them as we go. I've got a few open there myself. So that's all the open and closed issues. So you can delve deeper into the graphs then by seeing these are all the open and in progress issues. So you can see different people have a lot of issues there, one particular company, and that's due to it's an electrical contractor, and just there's a lot of small items that need to be closed out. But they're all tracked and they're all assigned to these companies. And also have a pie chart here, so you can see as a result, where all the issues are aligned with the one particular company, and it's not just the company, it's the person themselves. So you can contact that person, so and work through these. So these are the dashboards, so they're linked back to the model, and then that is notified on a Monday morning to everyone within the team. So you can send it now, you can schedule it. I have it scheduled to go out every Monday morning, so everyone's very clear on what needs to be worked on for the week. These reports then are set up to go out weekly as well. So you can see all these reports coming down along here. So depending on a meeting or clashes within the model, all these reports are set up, and you can see what would be a good example. I might just show you the reports later on. Is that all right, Rhys?
Yeah, I think that would be perfect. We can dovetail on that. But
I think we can dovetail back into that. Yeah, absolutely. So that shows you kind of a brief overview of what's going on site, and you can see there's over 1,000 issues there to be closed out. So that's a brief overview of the reporting. So that's very important for me as the BIM manager on the job, to know exactly how many issues are open and closed, and who I need to concentrate on, so who I need to go to talk to and get the issues closed out. So that to me is very important. Now, once you know where the issues are, I'll just open up Revizto here for one of the jobs. This is one zone of the building, say, and because of the stage of this project under issue tracking, I have set up the clash detection there through Navisworks for ground floor duct versus structure. So this is a preset filter, so I can see that there are 15 issues where the structure is hitting ductwork on the ground floor plan. And within a site meeting, that's very important, that I can push this up on the screen and say these are the issues throughout the building, or on the ground floor for duct versus structure. So each one of these is a real clash. I will give an example there. I just looked at earlier, was this clash 1000. So you can see exactly where in the building the clash 1000 is. We can see who's commented on it. So I've got the design team have come back saying it needs to move 50 mil. So we know where it's sitting. It's in progress. We're happy with that. There's an attachment with it to say what we need to do. So that's very helpful. But you also can see within here from your Navis file where the clash has come from. So I can see here that the clash was duct versus structure. It's group 9 and there's 2 clashes there. So how that works basically is within Navisworks, we still do our traditional clash detection. So under clash detective, under duct versus structure, we can see how many issues are open. You can see it's group 9 and it's these 2 clashes here. You can flick between those. So they are exported straight out of Navisworks here. So you go to your Revizto 4 app and you export out your issues through the export to Revizto application on the top ribbon. I won't go through that now, but that's how it was done. So that's exactly where that clash is. Group 9, 173. And you go back into Revizto. There's your group 9, 173. So that's very useful for me. That's all trackable. And once I close that out, then I know it's closed and I can capture a new viewpoint. So I can go into the model, have a look at that. I can also click on the green link down the bottom, and that brings me to the view and plan. So that's very useful for the subcontractors on site, so you can talk to them exactly where that clash is within the building. And there's probably another one that's probably a good example for those in the industry is 2014. So you can see each of these clashes are linked to a group. So they're pre-grouped. You can see all these clashes down long. We can go through them individually or as the group. So these were pre-grouped in Navisworks. And you can work through those and you can get them closed out. So as they get closed, you can set your options there to in progress solved or closed. So generally what happens is the subcontractor corrects the ductwork, he changes to solved, and I go in and review it. And once it's solved, I can close it out then myself. So the way I have the permission set up is that only I can close out issues. So you don't want someone else going in closing issues out in case they aren't closed out. So that's then on ground floor. So that's done per floor as you go up along. So you can flick through these. So I would set up maybe a meeting a week, and then I go through a floor at a time, and you can go through all those floors all the way up to the roof. And they're represented on the floor plans as well, which is critical for this job. I just have the roof to put in here. So all these are linked together. So if I go to second floor, I'm going to 2D. Go to the roof plan. Now I should see any issues associated with the roof up there. Yes, on the roof tracker. They can be reviewed in 3D as well. That's what you want to do. So each one of these is a clash in itself. So you can, I won't repeat myself, but it's the same thing again. So it's duct versus structure. It's a new group, group 5, and these are all the clashes. And you can see some are being resolved and some are still open. So it tracks all that for you. So that to me is very important. So I use that. You can also use your levels here and your links. You can turn on and off these links as you see fit, or change the colors just to help you visualize it. And you can control the settings down the bottom here, but you can just flick through. You can turn off the cut plane if you wish, turn it back on. Another useful option here that the subcontractors will use is that you can link your Revit file straight to this. So this section box comes straight into your Revit file. So no more going around looking to see where the clash is. If you have the issue tracker open in Revizto and you have the issue tracker open in Revit, then they're linked. So you just double click on the issue and it automatically opens up that section in your default 3D view in Revit. It brings you in to look at this file. So that would be during the meeting. So at the end of the meeting, then you would want to see the reports. So what I do is I set up the reports to go out. These are the reports here. So duct versus structure ground floor is my report. So that's set up. You can see there I've set up to go to 8 people on a Monday morning. I'm set up by myself, and the report comes to you in email format. So just so you can see how that comes to you, you can just paste in the subject. Let me do that 1 second. Paste option isn't working there. But what it does is it sets up this for you. So this automatically goes out, and as the issues get closed, I would filter it so that closed issues don't come out in the report. So you can see down through the clash. So you still know, you know what clash it is. It's the one you set up in Navisworks. That comes out. So you filtered for all open and in progress issues. You can set the status. So this is a major clash. So I want this, pushes it to the top. It's assigned to PORIC. You know what clash it is. So in Navisworks, it's clash 142. So, and it's ID number 830 in Revizto. So you don't lose your clash, so you know where it is at all times. So I think if I go down to page 13 or 14, page 13, the first clash we looked at is clash 1000, the major clash. It's in progress, and that's that clash, and it tracks all the issues where it's the tags that were put on it. So it was initially tagged. I didn't change the tag. I changed the tag duct versus structure. and then you can see that. So as the issues become closed, they drop off the report. So there's very little work. So you close off the issues, the report is issued out Monday morning at 9 o'clock, and that is reviewed within the meeting then. So you can flick through the issues either on PDF or on Excel. So there is an option also to, when you do your report, to send the report out to Excel so that they can flick through it that way as well if they prefer. But the best option is to go through your preset filters here. So the admin person can set up your preset filters. So if you have a guy within your team that's not very technical, he can quickly go in, just click on his ground floor duct versus structure, and they're all his issues. And that's what he can see. He can also just watch my issues. So he can just look at issues that are reported out specific to him. So there's loads of options there. So I find that very useful. Any thoughts on that, Rhys?
Looks great. Yep, I think it's really interesting hearing how you're actually using that, from a day-to-day perspective. And there's quite a few things that you've probably shown that are relatively new to Revizto, that for those that are aware of Revizto haven't seen before, like the custom presets that you've created. So those custom filters, you can find the information you want very quickly. So on the right-hand side there, you can see you've got your priority, deadline, you can tag issues, and all of that's been quite nicely used by Jimmy then to produce those reports and custom presets. So
yeah, I also see a sneak preview of the next one coming out with stamps on it. I think that's going to be very useful, Rhys, because at the minute, if you can raise numerous issues and stamp them as you go within the meeting, so when you're in a meeting environment and you have the same issues constantly happening, or you want to stamp it per meeting. So you can see the bottom one here, the last preset I have is a dated meeting. So these are all the issues that I reviewed within the meeting. So I have that set up so that we review 39 issues on the day, and that then can be quickly sent back to as minutes of the meeting, so all the issues that were discussed on the day. So I think that new stamp option that's coming out will be very useful for the likes of capturing what was discussed within a meeting on the day.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, perfect. We'll show more of that later on.
So is there any other functions? Is there any questions on that, or any more functions on that for what they would like to see?
Let's have a little look. I'll see there's been a flurry of questions coming through. Whilst we're waiting for those, Jimmy, I'm just going to also demonstrate, I suppose. So I'm in the same project as Jimmy as we speak. I've just assigned an issue to you, Jimmy, 2746.
Okay.
So let's just maybe demonstrate how we can communicate and assign issues to one another in real time. So I've assigned that to Jimmy. So it's, you just reset your filters at the top, and then you'll be able to see that. I think the ID is 2746.
Okay, I must have a filter on here somewhere. Issue trackers.
No, I think
You signed it to me, you have?
I've signed into the other project. I think I'm in Connolly Satellite Hospital. There we go. Okay. So I confused myself, and I was trying to search for the issues you had, and I thought, "All right, this isn't good for demonstration purposes," and I was in the wrong project. So
2746. Okay, so that's it. There, MEP issues.
Yeah. So so what you'll be able to see now is I've assigned that issue to Jimmy as we speak. So that's come through in real time. So if you get the Revit model or the Navisworks model open, he could double click on that blue box, and that takes him exactly to that location in the relevant Revit model, AutoCAD model, Tekla model, Navisworks model, whatever it is you're using, it doesn't really matter. And then we can start communicating in the issue itself. So I can go in and attach additional types of documentation, lots of different types. If I'm out on site with a tablet, then I can take a picture, or I could stamp that 2D document. and you've probably just heard that ping come through now. So I'm getting notified now in real time in Revizto. So it's a real-time communication tool as well to help aid in moving that issue along, rather than having to wait for the bi-weekly meeting, or just you move that on to prep for the meeting itself. So on the right-hand side, there's some fields there that we can check and tick. So there's no deadline against it yet, so I'll mark that off as the 31st, and I can tag issues as well. Now, for this particular project, I can only tag issues. I can't change any of the tags or add tags because I don't have the relevant permission to do so. So Jimmy's just demonstrating how you can mark up the model here. And this can be done wherever you have the plugin installed. So it may be directly in Revizto, or it may be in Revit or Navisworks, rather than creating view points. So that's come through to my end again, and I can see that. So I'll leave a note to say, okay, let me take a look at this as an example. So you really do have your finger on the pulse of the project, shall we say, where you can get the information you need very, very quickly. So maybe we can show that working on one of the 2D documents as well. Jimmy, if perhaps we'll just mark up a 2D document really quickly.
Okay.
It may be worth it just explaining what those are. I don't know whether you want to explain those the hotspot, shall we say, the cluster,
yes.
Those issues on the document.
Yeah, so there's a feature there. So as you zoom out, you can control the you can start zooming out. You can start seeing where the hotspots within the building. So you can see there's 6 clashes there and over here. So you can zoom in to see near a riser, so you can see why that is, and it keeps splitting out. But when you're out here, you can select on your 6, 5, say, and it highlights the 5 issues here on the right hand side, and you can go through those as a priority for a particular area that you wanted to look at. And then you can work through those issues. So you can see that you only want to work on those issues. Why are they clashing, and try and figure out the solutions. And
yeah, it's all interlinked, isn't it? So you've got that markup, if it was a markup or a clash from Navisworks or Solibri, but then it's interlinked with the 3D model and any associated 2D documents. So it's very, very clear for everybody where that issue is and what needs to change if geometry needs to move. It may be too late for that, but it's certainly a really, really clear picture of what the issue is and who it's assigned to.
Yeah. And then you can filter out your issues as well. If you just want to look at clash detection there, you can go into your test and you can say, right, I just want to look at any issues associated with duct versus structure on this plan, and it'll bring that up. So there's mech and elect there, so you can just look at the issues with mech and elect, so you can see they're all in progress. You know that it's that particular clash that's been created within Navisworks, mech versus elect, and you can see they're all brought up here on the right hand side. So you can go through sheet by sheet, and you can click on the link and it'll bring you to that sheet and highlight where those clashes are. So within a site environment, quite useful for the project manager or contracts manager to understand where these clashes are. They're not just a list on an Excel sheet with a small little viewpoint that they find difficult to see, not to mind the BIM coordination team. Yep. But you can go in and you can look and see exactly where they are. That's going to affect the agenda there, I'd say. But,
yeah, a couple of questions coming through as well now, which is great. So what are you using for your review meetings? Is it Navisworks or Revizto?
Oh, it's Revizto. So what we do first is we come in and we just look at the dashboard that we showed at the start of the meeting. And we'd say, this is where we're at and what we need to concentrate on. And then once we have gone through this and everyone has a good idea where we are in the job, we then go back into Revizto. And before the meeting, we would have agreed, this week we're going to be looking at, the duct versus structure on the ground floor as an example there. So we'll be just concentrating on that. So everyone is geared up before the meeting. We're not just constantly going around the model trying to figure out what's going on. We're going into a particular area. Everyone is aware that there's 15 items that need to be reviewed. There's a tolerance set at the start, 20 mil tolerance, just to get the major issues out of the way first. So the big item, the first thing you look at really is duct versus structure to get the big stuff out of the way, and you just work your way down then through more movable objects as you get down through the building. So you can, different options there.
Oh, perfect. Well, on that, Jimmy, I think it'd be good if we showed the camera share. So what I'm going to do is invite you to the camera share session. So what we're going to do now, I'm sorry, I'm in the other project, but I can just explain this, unless you can jump into Connolly satellite quickly.
Yeah. Okay.
So what we've got here is the ability now to actually look at the model at exactly the same time in real time. So even though Jimmy's in Ireland and I'm in Wales, we're in the same model. So I can start navigating through the project quickly and easily using the gaming control. So the one thing we haven't mentioned is Revizto gives you the opportunity to choose how you want to navigate through the project. So you may not be a Revit user or Navisworks user, so you can switch the preferences and use gaming, which literally are 4 keys on your keyboard and your mouse. Very, very simple, so anybody can do that. So I can start showing Jamie exactly what it is that I want to discuss in today's meeting. So it may be all of the clashes in this particular zone. And I can select on one of those and go through them one by one. So we're finding a lot of our customers are finding this very useful and powerful to avoid any miscommunication about what the issue is on a phone call that they're having, or Skype or GoToMeeting, because there's a very slight lag. I'm watching both screens now where I can see what Jimmy's seeing through Zoom and the view of the model itself. So the Revizto, because you're only sharing the camera position, it's actually moving in real time. So it's very, very clear. So I can go through here and chop up the model in lots of different ways if I want to. So quick, easy, and simple, which is key. Well, another question that comes through, Jimmy, if I just pull that up, which may be will be interesting to hear the answer to this, is, so are issues managed by the BIM manager or the project manager?
The issues are managed by the BIM manager, yeah. Absolutely. Like the project manager has his own set of issues to resolve, so what I would do is that report goes out to the project manager on site along with the contracts manager. So they are aware of the issues, but it is my job to resolve these. And I suppose if they become major issues, you kind of escalate it up the ranks into the contracts manager to get things resolved. But the BIM coordination meeting is chaired by the BIM coordinator or the BIM manager on the job. That's his particular set of skills. But 9 times out of 10, you will have project managers within the meeting.
And I suppose a follow-on question for that is, how are you sort of getting buy-in from the project team to use Revizto? Are you, I mean, I know the answer, but I thought I'd ask the question.
Yeah. Well, it's listening. The big thing for me getting the likes of the contracts manager, project managers in on this is the 2D drawings and seeing the issues marked up on a 2D drawing, and that's then they start seeing that it's a quantifiable issue. When you see the dashboard, you understand that there's 50 issues to be resolved. It's not it's not a black art anymore, that they can see, okay, how do we fix these issues? And project managers and contracts managers are very pragmatic people. They want to see the issues. Where are they? They don't want to see the model constantly spinning around. They want to see that there are 2 issues here. What are they? Click on it. Okay, can we get them resolved? Who are they with? You can see, that it's a M&E clash. So you can turn your head to the M&E team and say, can you get this resolved? So that's the big buy-in for me in these BIM coordination meetings, that you're looking at a floor plan. You know what room you're in. You know where the clash is. So that's the big buy-in for me at this stage of the job, anyway.
Perfect. Another question seems to be coming through thick and fast now. So here we go. Jimmy, could you explain your workflow when exporting the model to Revizto, and how often do you export, keeping in mind the Revit model is constantly evolving?
Yeah, so the design team and the subcontractors, depending on what stage of the project you're at, the model has been federated in Navisworks, and then it's been automatically scheduled to be pulled into Revizto. For clash detection, we were seeing earlier, so that the clash detection is done using search sets, and they're predefined in the BEP. These are then just run on a weekly basis, and on the weekly basis, then they're exported out to Revizto, so it's updated. So I would export them out on a Monday morning, and we have a site meeting on a Thursday. So that gives people the chance to review the clashes that are assigned to them, and to have a bit of work done, so that when they come into the meeting, they're not sitting looking at it for the first time. So that's the beauty of it, that this clash detection is a report that has gone out by email as well. So for the likes of the contracts manager, he can put his hand on A4 stack of paper and say, these are all your issues, you need to go and resolve them. So I'm not sure, like, I mean, the workflow itself is technically it's federated. The models are federated in Navisworks. They're pushed through to Revizto using the Navisworks Revizto exporter, and then the clash detection is exported through where your sync clashes here. So you can sync up your clashes here, and as we showed earlier, each time they're grouped, it holds the group number, so you can see that it's group 9. And when you go to your Revizto and your clash detection, you can see it in there as that group 9. So it's the add-in here, the Revizto 4 add-in here. So you just have to make sure that you've linked your Revizto model to the project, which is here. So you can see this project is linked to it. And then after that, you put your export scheduler. So you can set that up so it goes out on a particular day, what day of the week it needs to go out at, and then it automatically exports that out for you.
Perfect. I think you answered another question there, Jimmy. How are you doing for power? I just noticed that popped up. Are we going to lose you in a couple of seconds?
I'm liable to die any minute.
Okay. If you want, you can run and grab a
okay, very good.
And I've got a couple of questions. If you can stop sharing your screen before you dash off. And I'll show my screen. So there's some more questions that come through there, which I'll try and answer myself now. Share the screen. And show this and the slide itself. So some of you asked a little bit about workflow. So I think Revizto is quite flexible in terms of how it works. So the key thing to mention is it's down to you. So there are no set ways. Depending on your role in the project, you may be just bringing through your Revit architecture model to the Revizto collaboration project, or you may be, like Jimmy said, the contractor who's bringing through a federated model into Revizto with all of the geometry. So there's various ways of doing it. There is no set way. The project itself, something I get asked a lot, is about cloud security. So when you export your model to Revizto, it's either stored on your own local network, so it's you taking complete control of that, or in the cloud. So you have complete control over where that proprietary file format lives and who has access to it. Now, another really powerful thing about this is once the project is synchronized onto your mobile device, let's say your iPad, you don't need an internet connection then to view the model or the issues and create new issues. So you still have the ability to work offline. So if you are a contractor out on site, then you can still have access to all of the construction drawings, the model, and capture any site-based issues if you want to. So while we're waiting for Jimmy to come back, he mentioned a couple of things. So we just put in some videos together on our social media. So you've probably seen some of these, but some new features that we've got coming, which I think are quite useful to inform you about now, is the concept of stamps, or the ability to create a punch list or snag list, whatever you call it, in whatever region you are in the world. But you can see these stamps here. This one refers to a wall crack. So you can stamp a 2D document, and again, that comes with a predefined set of metadata, who it's assigned to, if it needs to be tagged, certain words or disciplines, when the deadline is, and then you can go in and add a picture to that. So, and this is all interlinked again between the 2D document, the 3D model. So this is going to be a really, really powerful tool that we've been asked to bring in by some of our customers. We now actually support OBJ. So if you are doing any sort of point cloud surveys, reality capture, then you can now bring in those reality capture or OBJ files rather directly into Revizto. So all of this is available through our social media accounts. So take a look, and I think this could be something that's going to be very useful for lots of our customers. Software is constantly evolving, and I think the really exciting thing for me working here is that I can see these progressions being made month on month, all being fed by our customers telling us what we can do to make the product even better. So there's a sort of an insight to some of the future things that we have coming in the software. It sounds like, Jimmy, you're back in the room now. Are you with some power?
I have power, yeah.
Perfect. Well, I'll switch the screen back to you because I think people on the call have probably heard me speak way too many times on these webinars, so we'll jump back to you. So let's stop sharing my screen, and we'll jump back to yourself. And yep, so this session's been quite fluid and interactive. I quite like that the questions are coming through, so I suppose I'll just continue to ask for your questions, and I'll fire some of those that popped up, Jimmy, whilst you're away. So we can see your Zoom screen if you fire up Revizto. So one for you, Jimmy. What role does the lead designer have with regards to clashes? Maybe that's one for you.
The lead designer, so as in the M&E lead designer. So I suppose the way this project is set up, the contract, it's a traditional farm contract here in Ireland. So we have, the model has been handed over at a contract start by the architect. So we've taken over the architectural and structural model. We've converted it to our own virtual construction model. So we do our own 4D on the job, and we push our asset information into the model as we go. So the lead designer, I'm assuming the question is the M&E lead design. So the way it works, you can see here, is any issues that are M&E issues are first pushed to the M&E lead design. And they do the coordination from that side, and then it's disseminated down to whether it's an M&E issue after that. That would be my take on it. Now there is the lead design as in the employer's representative, the architects. So he would sit in the meeting, but the BIM coordination meeting is chaired by the BIM coordinator, the BIM manager, and issues assigned to him, to the employer's representative, can also be issued directly to him. Is that the question answered?
I think so. Yep, pretty comprehensively as well. What else do we have here? How do you structure the issues according to phases of the project, i.e. design phase, tender phase, execution stage, and are these translated into your reports in the dashboard?
So you can tag issues. So if you're at a particular stage in the project, you can tag those issues and give them a tag, and those tags can be filtered. So you can you can phase. So each one of these is just a preset filter. So you can see here, I have filtered this by status, which is anything that is not closed, and it is. It's probably not a good example now. I'll go to a different preset. Yeah, so you can see here, this preset is set to anything that's not solved or not closed. I set it to a level, and I set it to a test. So you could, if you were doing, you can look at setting up a tag for level, which is easy enough done in Navisworks, because if you use NWDs, you know what level you're in within Navisworks here. So you can use the same principle for phasing. There is an option within Revizto for phases, but I don't actually use it because we don't have that many phases, but there is an option here. for turning on and off phases. I haven't used that. I'd recommend, like, as your issues occur, you should tag them to group them. Once they're tagged, then they can be reported out on. So if you go to reports over here, what would be a good example?
And you have these reports scheduled to run automatically then, Jimmy, that you've created there? Are they preset to?
Yes, they're preset to go out every Monday morning.
Okay.
But there are filters here. So you can assign it to an assignee, or you can add another condition. And down here is tags. So you can put in your tags here. So if you had your different phases in here, you can put in your phases there and tag them up. And once they're tagged in for that phase, you can schedule them to go out as you see fit. There is an option there. Do you want them to go out in Excel or PDF or both? And you add your list of people that you want it to go out to. So that's how I would see it done if I was working on the job. There are other options, but that to me is a good option. The stamp that's coming as well should help with that, I think.
Perfect. So that just runs automatically for you. A couple of questions around virtual reality. So I'll answer that one. Revizto is plug and play in terms of VR, so you can, my laptop that's VR ready, I could plug in an Oculus Rift or a HTC Vive and view the model with all of the issues in a VR headset. I don't know if you're doing anything with VR in this particular project, Jimmy, but just...
No, not on this project, no.
So I can show something towards the end as well where I've got a couple of videos with that. And we're doing a lot more as well with these virtual reality portals. I'm actually hosting an event this week in London with Soluus. I'll show you that video in a second. Another one for you, Jimmy. So we'll take another 2 or 3 questions. We're sort of coming up to time. So one here is, when clashes are resolved in Navisworks, does that status then push through to Revizto?
Yes.
Perfect. That's what I was going to say. Nice and easy. Let's see if there's any other. Some of these answered already, which is great. And maybe I've got one for you actually, Jimmy. What would you say have been the 2 biggest benefits to the project for implementing Revizto over and above some of the sort of more traditional workflows we discussed at the beginning of the call? What would you say?
Well, it's the tracking of the issues, so that you know, and it's all linked, pushed back to report, and it's all on a graph. You know, what tends to happen with clash detection is there's 2,000 clashes. No one bothers looking at them. They don't know, what floor it's on. They don't know if it's a major issue or a minor issue. So I find this useful because it focuses the mind, and you can tag up your issues for a particular meeting on a particular day, and everyone is very clear on what they need to do on the day. So it really helps you to go at it in bite sizes.
I think more than 3 reasons there. That's great. All right. Well, if let's just switch back to my screen a second, and so if you could stop sharing your screen, Jimmy, I'll pull up mine. Let's go back here. So last call for questions. If anybody has any questions, then please just ask away now in the Q&A section. That would be great. If you don't have any questions, I'll just pull up my details here and wait to make sure that there aren't any before we close up the meeting. So what will happen now is you'll get a follow-up email to say thanks for registering and watching. The session has been recorded. What you'll need to do if you'd like access to this to watch again or share with some of your colleagues, then you'll need to register through the link that we'll send you, and then you'll be able to download and view the video again. So or just get in contact directly with me, and I can share that with you. If you are interested in trying Revizto for yourself, which I think where a lot of these benefits Jimmy has talked about will only truly be recognized when you get your hands on the software yourself. We're more than happy to give you access to a trial, myself or one of my team. Just get in touch, and we'd be more than happy to set that up with you. I'm sure you'd probably agree with that, Jimmy. It's always much easier to get the concept once you've got one of your own
Absolutely, absolutely, and don't forget, if you are using Revit, you know, any section or elevation that's pulled, set up in Revit, that there is a link in Revizto, so you can double click on it, and it brings you to that section in the model. That's quite useful for the people that are actually modelling.
Yeah,
so that's what.
So double click on an issue here, that will take you exactly to that location or section cut in your Revit model or Tekla model or whatever it is that you're using. So there's no miscommunication, is there? Yep. So on that note, the biggest thanks today goes to you, Jimmy. So really appreciate you spending the time on showing us, you know, how Revizto has been used by yourself and your team. We really hope you continue to enjoy using it, and you know, we always welcome your feedback and comments so we can make Revizto, you know, an even more powerful tool for issue management on your project. So thanks, Jimmy. Really appreciate it.
Thanks very much, Rhys.
My pleasure, and thank you everybody for dialing in today. We'll close out the session, and any questions, and please get in touch and register for our next series of webinars, which you can find on our website, revizto.com. Great stuff. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Jimmy. We'll speak to you all soon.